Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ophelia Villa, better known as the Goth family house. Today, we are going to be tackling the Goth family house for our renovation of Willow Creek, my series on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I'm sure you've seen a lot of these videos. The Goth family house is iconic. A lot of people have gone in, they've renovated it, they've changed it to what they thought would be good for the Goth family household, and now it's our turn. So we're getting into the demolition of the outside to start off with. Now, do keep in mind with this series, it is going to be just a renovation. It's not going to be completely demolishing this house. We're just going to be giving it a little bit of a facelift. Now, as you knew, or you should know, recently the Goth family actually got a little update of their own on their appearances, which is fantastic. I am super, super happy to see that they got a little bit of an upgrade whenever it came to that. It was very much needed. So I thought it was perfect that we jump in and give their house a little bit of an update as well. So we're going in, we're getting rid of all of their household items. They deserve a clean, fresh slate and a little bit, of a modernization, if you will. Me saying that, it's not going to happen. We're keeping them very Victorian, but we're adding, a little bit of something there because I feel like they deserve it. And as you saw, just to randomly start off this video, I'm sure other people have made these comments, but can anybody tell me why the toilet paper was up to their shoulders in the bathrooms? I feel like the Sims team literally just took the toilet paper and just like threw it in the wall and it stuck, and they're like, yep, that works, that's good. So that was kind of a weird situation that I realized while I was doing this build here. So anyways, so we are going in and we are starting with moving some walls around. Now, we aren't going to be doing a ton with the actual shape of the build, which I like to try to typically stick to that. But I did push that top front room in a little bit, and then that back balcony is going to get nixed. I'm sorry, guys. They're only going to have, the one balcony. Technically, that's a lie because they have the huge front porch on the bottom. They have the porch on the top that is only going to be able to be accessed through Bella and Mortimer's room, and then they have the porch in the back, so they're really not losing much, and they needed an extra bathroom, which is what I'm trying to do here, and I just cannot figure out how I want to go about doing that. It is such a weird shape upstairs that I couldn't figure out how to do it. I tried to do the balcony at first, didn't like how it looked, went on to try to do something else, and then I just ended up going back to changing the balcony to the bathroom. So that was fun trying to figure out how I wanted to do the upstairs basically. Now, as for the rest of the build, it stays very, very similar. I didn't like the idea of the upstairs, like the little observatory part, I guess you would call it, or the third story area, just being for Alexander. Just his bedroom, basically. So I got the bright idea that he would basically take over the bathroom downstairs because that bathroom was huge. Like, it was unnecessarily huge. Like, you could have filled that puppy up with a lot of stuff, but I decided to move his bedroom down there, and then I got the bright idea that he would still have access to the upstairs, but maybe he's like a little scientific genius and stuff like that. So he's going to have his little like science table. He's going to have a bookshelf up there, and then all of his toys, because I have a feeling that Mortimer and Bella are very like stern about their house being like super proper. Like, there's not a lot of clutter. It doesn't really look like it's lived in that much. Like, everything has a place and that's where it stays. Like, the kids can't really move stuff around a lot, but they allow him to have that little like secret observatory, and that's where he can have his toys and stuff. So I like that idea. I thought it was a fun little concept. Also terrifying, because in my head, I'm like, if I had a room that I knew had an access to like an attic, granted, it's not an attic, it's an actual third story, but if there was a door to an attic like right above my bed, I would be freaking out about what's up there, because I'm super into like horror stories and stuff like that, and I've heard some ones, guys, I'm not gonna lie. So that would scare the crap out of me. But anyways, still, this is a Sims. That kind of stuff doesn't happen, so it's a fun little concept for little Alexander. As for the wallpapers and things that I put throughout the house, I used a lot of paranormal, just because it fits super well. I love this deep red burgundy, and I use a lot of Realm of Magic and the Vampires packs. Also, I would appreciate if there's no judgment here. This is a judge-free zone, or at least I like to think so. I may or may not have downloaded Realm of Magic and Vampires just to do the Goth house. I know, it's a little crazy, but I mean, I had to. I feel like it's just so fitting. I couldn't not have those packs in my game and do this build. So I thought it was perfect. So as you can see here, there is a little bit of a cut, and I did not show you a lot of the stuff that I did to the outside because I struggled a good bit, as well as on the inside of where I wanted to place the stairs. And I wanted to make the house, honestly, I was trying to think of it as I'm trying to make this house look more similar to their neighbors' houses. And it did not work out that way. As you can see, it's still very dark. It looks very, very different compared to their neighbors' houses, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, especially with the little pops of white. I just feel like it adds a little bit of modernization to them. So it didn't look any different, really, if we're being completely honest. But I was very happy with the outcome. And then with the third story, or the observatory as we've been calling it, being a different type of brick, I don't know, I really liked that added pop of white on the exterior instead of just being completely black, like a black hole in Willow Creek. We don't need that. And then moving on to the inside, I made the living room very, very dark. And I loved this white paneled wall to just add a little bit of a different color. I loved this couch. I can't remember if it is from the Paranormal pack or from Cottage Living. Either way, I die for it. I love it. And then the fireplace is just perfect. From what I have read, there is not typically supposed to be a television in the Goth family household, or at least from like the stuff that I've read back from like Sims 2, I believe it was. They don't have like TVs, and the only computer in the house is Cassandra's, and I think she like hides it basically. But this is modern day. I feel like they definitely have a TV. They would probably 100% limit their kids, to having a time frame when they could watch it, which is fair. But I just felt like it had to be in here because it's more of a modern build. And of course it'd be like a big flat screen TV. I feel like that just is perfect. And then I do put some bookcases, the chess table, which was there originally. I feel like I had to incorporate that back in because I feel like that's something that's well known for the Goths. They are a very big logic and like book family. So those little aspects I definitely tried to incorporate throughout the build. I do put a lot of bookcases through here because Cassandra and Alexander are, very big into reading and studying and things like that. I also put a lot of these chairs with little footstools on them throughout the build as little nooks that they can kind of like curl up and read a book in. I just really liked that idea. And I have one here. I think I have one in Cassandra's room and Alexander's room, as well as another reading chair up in his like little observatory. I don't know. I just really like the idea, and it just seems nice and cozy. And for this chair, I love these ones. These ones I believe are from Cottage Living. And I just love that they're like a high back chair, but they still look so plush and comfy. And they have a little bit more of a modern aspect to them. They're not as high and like vintage or antique looking as some of the other chairs that we have in the game. So I thought it was perfect, and it brought in another aspect of that red as well. And I'm going through and putting curtains on all of the windows. I put just the same exact curtain throughout the build because the windows are so large and rounded. There are those one specific curtains that I believe were made for those windows, but I didn't want to use those. I wanted to use something a little bit different, and I loved the gold rod accent. I believe they're from the University pack. They just looked really nice, so that's what I went with through the whole build. And we are moving into the kitchen. Now, I will warn you, I go back and forth between a lot of rooms in this whole renovation, just because whenever it especially came to the decor items and trying to, add clutter and things around this build, I would find something and I'd put it in another room, and I'd find something and I'd put it in a different room. So there's a lot of back and forth. So if there's a lot of, turning and twirling and things like that. I do apologize if you do get motion sickness from it, because even when I'm editing these videos, I'm like, oh man, like I'm even getting motion sickness. So I do apologize about that ahead of time. Now, originally I wanted to use these cabinets. I think they are from the Cool Kitchen stuff pack, like a super early stuff pack that came with The Sims 4. And I really liked them because they did add that modern aspect to the build. But whenever I started adding the upper cabinets, I didn't like all the glass that came with it. So then I tried to incorporate the ones that didn't have glass, and it just looked a little bit too modern for me. And on top of that, they're a little bit more of a gray brown instead of like a deep brown like I was trying to utilize with that hutch over on the right-hand side. And I wanted to match that. So I do end up switching out the cabinets for something a little bit different. They have a little bit more of a, not antique, but they're a little bit older style. They're not as modern and flat-faced, but they do still bring in the white top aspect, which definitely brightens up that space compared to, you know, all the dark wood and dark walls and things like that. But I definitely wanted to keep it a little bit on the modern side as well with the bright white marble tops. And I definitely also felt like that they were a 2 fridge and a 2 stove family. You can't tell me otherwise. I feel like that is like the epitome of, oh, we have a lot of money and we don't know what to do with it, so we're going to have double everything. But yeah, I was really happy with how it turned out. The white just definitely added a different, you know, pop of brightness to that room because of the deep colors. And then just going through and trying to find some basic stools. I really liked the ones with the cream top because I felt like it matched the flowers on the wallpaper as well. I definitely felt like they were a espresso or coffee family, so I definitely wanted to include those in on the counter. And I also feel like they're definitely wine people, so I add in that decor item as well, on top of including a bar in the dining area, because I just felt like it would be 100% Mortimer to come home and have like a glass of whiskey right after his work day. And here I'm adding some of those clutter items that I say I go back and forth in. Now, a lot of the items that I do use are Realm of Magic and the Vampire Pack and Paranormal, I would say. Like, those are a majority of the items that I use in here, just because I feel like it makes sense with the Goth family. I even had a thought that I should add a picture of Vlad from the Vampire Pack in, because maybe they have some weird ties with that family. And honestly, they easily could, because I didn't do that much research on them or go that much of a deep dive into their lore. But I just kind of thought, oh, maybe that'd be fun if they had some type of tie with Vlad. And I was going to put like a big picture of him and be like, oh, they would maybe call him Uncle Vlad whenever he came around or things like that. And I'm like, let's not be that much on the nose. Like, let's just calm it down a little bit. We'll put some weird little hints here and there about, you know, maybe they have some type of ties with the Cult Sims, because if you have seen any lore or heard any lore about Bella Goth, she has some stuff with aliens that are involved, which I don't play with aliens. I actually don't play with a ton of occult Sims, which is why I didn't originally have these packs already downloaded. But I figured I had to whenever it came to them. And I do like a lot of the decor and, you know, build items, so I definitely wanted to incorporate that. So that's why I downloaded it. But I do know that she has a lot of ties with like aliens and things like that. So I don't know. I just wanted to incorporate some other backgrounds, story, at least in my mind, while I was doing this build. So I definitely used a lot of their items from those packs for sure. And just adding a few little clutter items around. As I was saying, I have been incorporating a lot of those packs. So I added a crystal ball. As you saw earlier, I added a book on a pedestal. And my thought process behind that was, you know, maybe a lot of these items were passed down from previous family members and they are just on display now. Like, they don't use them or anything like that, but they're just decor items that, you know, family members have passed down from generation to generation. So they just like to have them on display to remember said family members. Yeah, I don't know, just a little thought that I had there. And I actually went through, it took me a long time to go through a lot of the decor items whenever I was trying to clutter things up. like I said, I do go back and forth a lot, but that's just how I work whenever it comes to trying to, create a little bit of a story and things like that. I put these candles here. I thought they were perfect, although they would definitely probably break the TV in real life, but we're just going to pretend like that's not a thing. It's The Sims. Everything's fine. We don't worry about that. And here I am going in with some lighting. Now, throughout the build, there is some different lighting throughout. I normally just use the round disc lights in the ceilings, but for this, I wanted to try to utilize some different things around. And I really love the warm light that comes from a lot of these lights that hang down in this build. It just adds some type of warmth and kind of like an eerie feeling, whereas those round disc lights, I feel like they're a little bit cooler and they spread out so much light, whereas some of the other lights just have light in one specific area, and it just adds like an ambiance to it. I don't know how to explain it very well, but I just really, really liked how they looked and the lighting that they gave off. And we are moving on to the dining area. So like I said, we do have a bar there, and I was going through and putting this table in. And originally I really liked it because I liked the red in the middle of it because, I mean, it's Bella Goth's house. She's going to have red as many places as she possibly can. But as I was looking at it more and more, I'm like, it's very dark in that corner. And while I get it, it's kind of supposed to be like, ooh, spooky, creepy, eerily type things with the Goths. It was a little much. So I do end up switching out that table for a glass table, which I would never have in real life, a glass dining table, but I just liked that it added a little bit more dimension and it wasn't as dark, especially after putting this rug underneath. It just seemed like it was a very enclosed space, and I liked the glass table that you were able to look through it. It does have a design on it on the top, which is a little bit annoying, but if you don't look at it too hard, you don't really notice it. So we're just going to pretend it's not there. I feel like I say that in a lot of my videos where I'm like, if something's there, we're just going to pretend it's not. Just don't look at it for too long and it's not there. And then on to the little bar area, I wanted to put some cabinets in the back. This is a trick that I really love to use. I say it's a trick and probably everybody uses it, but I love to put cabinets behind bars and in bathrooms, like kitchen cabinets, to make it look like it's extra storage, because I definitely feel like if Mortimer or Bella has people over and they're entertaining, they would have to have a place that they keep all of their booze and their glassware and things like that. So I loved how the cabinets looked behind the bar, and added like a little bit of storyline. Now this is a completely different day. If you can't tell, I did go through and add a few things here and there. I was really struggling with this hallway and what I want it to look like, just in general, like this whole first floor and like the outside and stuff like that. I had a time whenever I was trying to figure out, how I wanted to do it, how much I wanted to lean into them being the Goth family and reds and, things like that. So it was difficult, but I finally felt like I started to find my stride come the second day. And here I am just putting some items. I'm trying to find a bust to put in that corner, but I did find this necklace and I was like, oh, that would be perfect. Maybe Bella's mother gave that to her and they have it like encased, but I didn't like the color of the stand that came with it because it didn't match the colors that we were going for throughout the rest of the build. And while I do still really like what I came up with there with it on a pedestal and things like that, it just didn't work for me for some reason. So I end up switching it out for a stereo, I believe, in that corner. I just felt like it made more sense, which again, going back to like, they don't have a lot of entertainment in their house from the lore and things like that. I feel like this would kind of be like, something new that they would have, but I don't know. I just felt like it fit in that corner, so I put it there. And originally I really liked this old mid-century modern, I guess it would be a record player. But the more I looked at it, I'm like, it doesn't really go with the aesthetic. It's a completely different style, so I went with this other stereo instead. And then going back, trying to find a stand for this bust, and I do just try to make sure that all of the colors match throughout the house. I just feel like that would be very Goth or Bella and Mortimer like, that they would want everything to match as much as possible. I will say the downstairs is very much more like a black wood, or like a very, very deep stained wood, compared to upstairs. When you get into the bedrooms, I feel like they're a little bit softer whenever it comes to some of the wood tones. And then upstairs, I definitely wanted to make sure that I put a piano in here because Cassandra, I believe in some of the stuff that I saw, that she's very big into music. So I wanted to put a piano in, and I really wanted to use this one from Get Famous, but it was almost a little bit too tacky with that gold. So I just went with another basic piano, and then I wanted to add another skill building object, so I put an easel in there. Maybe that's something that Bella gets into as she gets older, which is painting and things like that. And then just making a little area here with gallery wall art and a little table with some plants on it. I do use a lot of gallery art in this renovation as well. I just feel like they have such a long family heritage, that they have like so many family members, that there's like wall art of all of their family throughout their house. So there's quite a few of those, especially up here in the hallway. And I do believe I have one down at the bottom of the stairs as well, but I did that off camera. And then I'm just going through and furnishing the bathrooms. All of the bathrooms look fairly similar. As you can see, I did add a bathroom downstairs. I don't remember if I mentioned that. So there is 3 bathrooms in this house now, and it just made sense with where the stairs was placed too, and how I placed it, that's where the bathroom would go downstairs instead of like right smack dab in the middle of the build with no windows. It just worked out better in my opinion. And then this is the additional bathroom that used to be the balcony upstairs. So this would be basically the kids' bathroom. And here is that trick again where I use the cabinets to add a little storage area, because like I said, I feel like this household is definitely one that doesn't have clutter everywhere. So like once they're done in the shower, like I feel like Bella would definitely come in and be like, make sure you put everything away and you wipe up your messes and, you know, wipe out the sink and things like that. So they would need places to store said items. So that's why I love to put the cabinets in there. I mean, if we're being honest, they probably have like a butler that comes in and takes care of all that, and a maid. And just realizing I forgot to put the railing at the top of the stairs, adding in a few more pictures and tapestries. Didn't know what I was going to call that there for a second. In the hallway. And then we're going to move on to Cassandra's room. I decided to do her room first because I don't know, I was just really excited to do her room. It's not anything special. It's not anything crazy. But I was very happy with how it came out. Like I said, I saw that she was supposed to be into music, so I definitely wanted to incorporate that into her room. So I do end up putting a violin. I also think about putting a keyboard in there, but because there's already a piano out in the hallway, I don't end up doing that. We do stick with pretty much reds, peaches, pinks for her bedroom, and then we do go with all the dark furniture as well up here. And my original thought process whenever I was creating this room was, oh, she's into music, so obviously I'm going to have, you know, the stuff here for that. But maybe she's rebelling a little bit. Like maybe her family wants her to do very, you know, nice music, everything on the piano. And maybe she's like, but I'm into rock and roll, I'm into alternative, indie music, things like that. And they're not, you know, very happy about it. So originally I do put that little reading nook chair that I say I put in pretty much all of their rooms. I put that there and I hide posters behind it. And I'm like, maybe this is like her little secret area that they don't know about. And she has like all of her rock and roll posters on the wall. But I do end up just taking that out because I'm like, if she would have that backstory, you can just kind of make it yourself. You don't really need to have it displayed on a wall. But it is a fun little backstory. I do really like that. And she can still rebel against her parents if she wants to. She just doesn't have to be as, you know, open about it, even though technically it was being hidden. And then I do put a nice little bookcase in here for her as well. And clutter that up a little bit with a stereo so she can listen to said band music that she should not be listening to. And I do really like this chair, the little pink one. It doesn't match 100% with the bed, but I liked that it brought in another color to the room. And then I wanted to put a little bench at the end of the bed. I do just end up using two little tufts, I believe they are, at the end. I do try a few different things, but it just looks a little bit too modern. And I just thought the tufts looked nice because it brought in an additional color and it lightened up the space a lot. And for the rugs, now there are a lot of rugs in this build, and I struggled with every single one of them because I am very much a person that does not like to use the same rugs over and over again. So I tried to use a different rug in every single room, and that was a challenge. I'm not going to lie. But I'm very happy with the end result, and I'm happy that it pretty much ties in with each room in a different way. So very happy with that, but still very much a struggle to use it in, a different rug in every room. And it still ties in with the aesthetic of everything as well. So I was very happy with that. And then I do go in and put the violin, and I attempt to put that keyboard in as well, but it doesn't look right. And because we already have one, I figured we don't need it. And this is where I decide to get rid of those little posters and just go with a regular picture above the bed. Very happy with how that room turned out. It's very cute. And then I move on to Alexander's room. Now, if you remember, he only had that little third story room before, and he basically has double the space now, but it's still a smaller space, which is part of the reason I gave him access to that upstairs room, because this room is pretty small. I mean, I guess technically I could have made it a little bigger, but I just really like the idea that he had access to that upstairs observatory area. And this room, I definitely use a lot of, darker items, stuff that I feel like his mom and dad would have approved for him to have in this room. I don't know why, but like in my mind, I feel like he's very much like, oh, I have to follow the rules of mom and dad as much as possible. But then whenever you go upstairs, he's like, this is my secret little laboratory and I can do whatever I want up here. But like the rest of the house has to be like very prim and proper and clean. So he definitely makes sure like his room is good and clean. And then upstairs he can go a little bit more crazy when it comes to, his experiments and stuff that he wants to do. But I do definitely feel like he follows the rules for the most part whenever it comes to his parents. So it's kind of bland. His room is kind of boring, kind of bland. I don't really have too much of like a backstory for him other than, him having that observatory. I do end up using the telescope, the new updated telescope that we got. They don't have that big actual observatory on the top of their roof because that would look weird. But I was so excited to use it because this is the first time I've been able to use it. So although I will say it's a little bit dangerous because it is out on a rooftop and he is a child, but we're not going to think about that. How many times have I said that in this video? We're not going to think about it. We're not going to question it. There's railings up there. He'll be fine. He's fine. So anyways, this is kind of the point that I realized like, oh no, there's not going to be any toys in this room. It's going to be up in the top part of his room where all the kid stuff is going to be. And I do give him a desk. I do not give him a computer because he's a child, which, I mean, I understand the irony in that, but like, I didn't want him to have a computer and that he be on it all the time. I feel like he's a book reader. And another idea that I had is he doesn't have a bookcase in his room. He has it upstairs in the third story. And maybe every time he finds a book, he just drops it. Like I just envision him being like, oh yeah, this is a good book, and just drops it into his room every time. And that's kind of like why he has some books downstairs on his desk, because those are ones that he found and he wanted to read them. And then I also gave him a little frog tank. I believe it's a frog, because I just envision like his parents being like, okay, you can have like one fun thing in your bedroom. And he chose a frog. Like that's so weird and cute at the same time. And I just love that idea. And I loved how it like added a little bit of storyline to his bedroom as well. And it's not just like so much like stern stuff. Because I felt like Cassandra she at least got to have like a violin in her room. Very much approved violin, but like she at least got to have that, and she has a computer in her room. So I had to give him some leeway as well. And here is his little observatory area, a lot of his toys, and his little science lab table. And then I do end up switching out his bed as well. I do realize that the bed that I give him is not very high in comfort, but it looks better in my opinion, so that's what we're gonna go with. I do put these little shoes here. I think they're adult shoes, but I just size them down because I just envision him like keeping his shoes in a nice little row whenever he comes in. I do give him some hair products even though he's a kid, because I feel like his dad maybe taught him like, oh yeah, your hair's always like slicked back. You always have, your appearance always has to look nice. And here is another chair, surprise, surprise, that I put in his room for some reading. I really liked this one, but it was such a stark white compared to the rest of his room, so I do switch it out for a different chair. And it has a nice little like blanket hanging over it, which I thought was super cute, so he can maybe like snuggle up in the blanket whenever he's reading his book. I just thought it was a nice little idea. And the conquest for the perfect rug continues. I do put one down, but it is going to change at the end of the video because I just wasn't happy with how it looked in this room. And then after we choose that, we are going to head over to Bella and Mortimer's room finally. Now this room was kind of difficult because my original thought was to put the bed in where these windows are, because I don't know, it just seemed very grand to me. But the more I looked at it and wanted to figure out the placement for the rest of the items that I had put in the room, it wasn't going to work. While I do still like the idea, I can use it in a different build maybe, but it just wasn't working in my opinion. So I do end up moving the bed to the wall on the right-hand side, and then that little area with all the windows is going to be Mortimer's, wow, that's hard to say, Mortimer's office. And because I just envision, Bella coming up to the bedroom, getting ready for bed, and he's just sitting there like furiously working, and she's like, honey, like come to bed. You don't have to work so hard all the time. And, something along those lines. I do wish I would have been able to give Mortimer an office, which, I mean, I guess technically the room that Alexander's in could have been an office, but I liked his story way better than Mortimer having an office. Like he can easily do that in his room. And I do end up changing the bed, I don't believe I show that to you, to a more luxurious one, a more expensive one, if you will. And trying to find a dresser is impossible because the swatches in the game are very frustrating. And I do end up finding one that finally matches, as close as we can get. Beggars can't be choosers when it comes to swatches in this game. And I did want to definitely have a full-length mirror for Bella. I felt like she would definitely have one. I switched it out to a different one. This one's a little bit too modern in my opinion. And then I also put these suitcases out. And I do understand that they're supposed to be a side table. However, I liked the idea that Mortimer's a businessman. He has a lot of business meetings that he has to go to. So he has them out like he's getting ready to leave for a business meeting. I don't know. I just like the idea. And then just finding some clutter to put on the dresser here. I actually switch out the perfume bottles like 3 different times because I keep finding one and being like, oh yeah, this is definitely Bella. Oh wait, no, this one's definitely Bella. So I end up switching them out quite a few times, but I'm pretty happy with how the clutter looks on the table. I feel like it probably wouldn't be that messy and maybe I should have organized it a little better, but in the end, it still gets the point across, like it's not that big of a deal. And adding the computer on Mortimer's desk, I do add a lamp on it as well. Just because this room is so large, it's very hard with the lighting, especially whenever we're using that warmer lighting. It's hard to light up the whole space. And then finally onto the last room here is their ensuite. They definitely would have a jet bathtub. I feel like Bella would utilize the crap out of that. And everything else is pretty similar to all the other bathrooms, which I haven't said, but I love this flooring in this bathroom. It's one of my favorite floorings. I would love that in real life. Please and thank you. And here I am just adding in a few other bits and pieces for the bathroom. I love overlapping the towel rods and making it look like one long rod. I don't know. I do that in a lot of my builds because one sim would not use another sim's towel. That just seems weird to me. So I like to make sure that there's the proper amount of towels in a bathroom for the sims that are living in said house. And just adding a few clutter items here and there. And then we are going to be moving on to the reveal, you guys. So here's the final product, the new Goth family house. It is I was going to say bigger and better and renovated, but it's not bigger and better. It's the exact same. It has one additional room basically. So that's a lie. Ignore what I just said. So I'm really happy with how this turned out, especially with all the decor and everything. I'm so happy I downloaded the Vampire and the Realm of Magic pack. It just made it so much better in my opinion. I've done the Bella household, the Goth household multiple times, but I'm just so happy with how this turned out. It's way better than any other time that I've done their household before. So definitely let me know down below what you guys thought of my renovation. If you thought I did them dirty, or if you think that I really stepped up and gave them the house that they deserved. I personally think I gave them the house that I deserved. And also Alexander, like, he got double the room now. He is such a lucky kid. That is so cool. But yeah, you guys, I'm going to be continuing this Willow Creek renovations with more residential lots. So let me know down below if there's one that you would love to see me do. And definitely subscribe and hit that notification bell. I upload every Wednesday and Saturday. And as usual, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.